Hello and welcome back to this episode of the Engage 8 podcast. I am Josh and my co-host Mike. Today we are recapping the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 for March Madness. We have our Final Four in front of us. At the very end of the show, we will give our Final Four predictions and our national championship predictions, but I assume most of them will be the same as when we started. If you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe. We are just, I believe, 11 or 12 or subscribers away from 200. So if you have not subscribed yet, we would greatly appreciate it. We will start here in the South region with Auburn beating Michigan 78 to 65. It was close in the first half of this game, but Auburn really pulled away late. Danny Wolf had a great game for Michigan. I heard he may be able to come back for another year. I'm not sure if that's possible, but
Well, he might be going to the draft.
he also might
He
be going
has
to the
more
draft.
years.
He does have more years?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm sure Michigan would love that. We saw him crying after the game and whatnot, but Golden, really tough game for him, 2 for 9 from the field. Trey Donaldson as well, 2 for 9. Auburn, Janai Broome had his first good game of the tournament here as he put up 22 and 16, which a dominant 16 rebounds from him, 9 for 21 from the field. Denver Jones was solid as well in this game. Chad Baker Mazzara was pretty bad. Miles Kelly was pretty bad. Todd Pettiford, 50% from the field. He had 20 off the bench. He's one of the best bench players in college hoops right now, if not the best. But Auburn cruised in the second half of this game. They're starting to get hot, and their best players are playing how they should. And they're going to go as far as Janai Broome could take him. He didn't play super well in the first 2 games. They didn't look great as a team. He plays a lot better in this game, and they get a double-digit win over Michigan in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, Michigan had this game in the first half, and early in the second half, they looked like they were just the better team at that point. Auburn was struggling, kind of like they had all tournament, and then something just clicked in this Auburn team, and they turned it on and woke up and played some amazing basketball and just dominated Michigan in the last 10, 15-ish minutes. Like you said, Denver Jones was good. Tahad Pettiford was great. It was really the backcourt for Auburn that won them this game. Janai Broome was solid, but 9 for 21 from the field isn't ideal for him. The big men from Michigan gave him a little bit of fits, Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf. Danny Wolf had a good game, but outside of him, no one on this Michigan team stepped up. That's what we said had to happen. Someone outside of him and Golden had to step up. We just didn't see it. Trey Donaldson had a bad game. Namari Burnett really didn't get anything going, and Roddy Gale, who had a great round of 32 game against Texas A&M, couldn't get anything going here against Auburn in the Sweet 16. So Auburn gets the win. Michigan fought pretty hard. They had the lead, but Auburn, whatever woke up in them in the last 15 minutes of this game, it uh, transformed into that Michigan State game. So they really finally woke up. And this is the Auburn team we've been seeing for since August to about end of February, mid-February. They had just a little 2 week stretch where they didn't look as good, 2, 3 week stretch. But this is the Auburn team that we're accustomed to seeing. So we'll see if they can continue it going into the Final Four.
Okay, next game here, Michigan State beating Ole Miss 73 to 70. Ole Miss came out hot in this game. They had a phenomenal first half. Sean Padula put up 24, Morrell 13, Malik Dia had 11. All pretty efficient. Malik Dia could have been a little bit more efficient, but Michigan State popped off in the second half. Chase Richardson had 20 points. I believe most of those were in the second half of this game, if not all of them. Trey Alleman off the bench had 10. Jaden Akins had 13. Cohen Carr high flying 6 for 10, 15 points on 32 minutes. So Michigan State comes back in this game, which they had done the entire tournament so far. They've had bad first halves for the first 3 games, and then uh, even in the game where it matters the most for them here against Ole Miss, a team that was playing the hottest basketball in the nation, they have a dominant first half on them, and Michigan State's able to stifle that and able to come back in the second half with Izzo. So I mean, it's been an issue with this team all season, but they've been able to overcome it up until this point, and it was very impressive for me to see them do that against a team like Ole Miss, who isn't known for blowing many leads. So I thought Ole Miss, after that first half, I thought Ole Miss was going to be able to control this. I didn't think they would blow a first half lead like we saw Bryant do and like we saw New Mexico do in the first 2 rounds, but they did, and Michigan State came back and beat them.
Yeah, I said it. That's what this Michigan State team does. They have bad starts and they come back and find ways to win games, and that's what they did in this game. They've been a great free throw shooting team all season. They've had a couple games where they haven't been as good from the free throw line, but they were fantastic in this game from the free throw line. 19 for 22, 86%. They won that, and Michigan State is a team that dominates the rebound battle all season, and this is a game where Ole Miss actually out-rebounded Michigan State. They held Michigan State to only 5 offensive rebounds. Michigan State changed their lineup completely going into this game. They gave Cohen Carr his first start of his career. They benched Simone Zapawa. He didn't play at all in this game. And they played Ole Miss's style of basketball, and they found a way to beat Ole Miss in their own style. That's just something that this Michigan State team has been able to do. all year they've been able to play so many different styles and win games, find a way to win games. And this was just a great team. Like you said, Jace Richardson had a phenomenal game. Jay Nakins hit a couple clutch threes. This was a game like where Michigan State all season has not been a good three-point shooting team as well, and they only hit six threes in this game, and for a while couldn't hit any at all. But they hold teams to 33% shooting. That's what Ole Miss had, and outside of Sean Padula, really no one could have a really big game on this Ole Miss team. So just another great win by Michigan State. They did it all year. They found ways to win, and they did it in this game, and great season for them.
Okay, moving on to the regional final here in the South region, with Auburn beating Michigan State 70-64. Auburn came out really, really hot in this game in the first half, like teams have against Michigan State, as we just said, over and over in this tournament. Janai Broom had his best game of the tournament, 25 and 15 on 10 for 13 shooting in 29 minutes. He was very, very good. He gets hurt late in the game with an elbow injury. He does come back. Hopefully, he'll be able to come back for the Final Four. I believe he absolutely will be able to play. He ended up hitting some shots too after the injury. 10 for 13, 25 and 14 is just an absurd stat line for him. That's National Player of the Year stuff. For Michigan State, I mean, it came down to what it in the first half, what it had been all season for them with the 3-point shooting. They got into a spot where Auburn went on a big run. I believe it was like a 10-0, 12-0 run or something. And Michigan State gets to a point where they're chucking threes, and they're rebounding well against this Auburn team too. They had one possession where I think they shot like four threes and just miss. Some of those misses, very bad misses too. They were able to hit just as many threes as Auburn in this game on less attempts. Auburn shot 28% from three and still won this game. But it really just came down to efficiency from the field for Michigan State. 22 for 64, 34% from the field for them. Trey Holloman goes 0 for 10 for 2 points. Jaden Akins 6 for 17. He was their lead or second leading scorer with 15. Jackson Kohler was very efficient, 6 for 8 with 17 points, 11 rebounds. Jace Richardson not very efficient as well, 4 for 13 in this game. It was just an efficiency problem for Michigan State, and they had chances in this game where Auburn wasn't playing their best basketball, especially in the second half. But Michigan State just was not able to hit a shot to cut it down to past that 10-point mark, which is where they were at for most of this half. They ended up only losing by 6 points, but it seemed like they had so many chances where it was a 10-point game, an 8-point game, where you just got to go on a 4-0 run, a 5-0 run, and you're very much in this game. And they just couldn't pull it close enough in the second half, although they did win the second half. But yeah, just came down to efficiency. Auburn didn't even really play their best game, but they did enough in that first half, especially in that like 6 minute stretch where they were so dominant early in the first half that they were able to overcome some struggles late. And like we said, going into the tournament, Auburn was one of the most overlooked teams going in. They lost 3 or 4 games going into the tournament, and now here they sit in the Final Four coming out of the South region.
Yeah, Michigan State kind of held their own for the first three-ish, four-ish minutes of the game, but the struggles of starting the game continued to plague this Michigan State team. Then they gave up a 17 to nothing run, and that's really the story of the game right there. It kind of just after that 17 nothing run, it's pretty much just back and forth between the two teams. When you look at the box score, it's pretty much identical, very even. Michigan State won the rebounding battle, won the steals battle, tied in the blocks. They had three more turnovers, which hurt them, but the only thing that's really different was the field goal percentage, and it's was actually the 2 pointers that hurt Michigan State in this game. They only shot 34% from the field as opposed to Auburn's 42%. That's kind of the big story. Each team hit seven threes. Michigan State, they can't shoot, but they are very good at stopping the other team from hitting threes as well. They've done it all season, and it was just that big run early in the first half that really they just couldn't recover from. Janai Broom was great in this game, like you said. He was fantastic. Dylan Cardwell, he's just a guy who gets a little bit overlooked. I think he honestly might almost be the most important piece of this Auburn team. He's just so good defensively. He can shuffle his feet so well. He can guard almost any position on the court. He was great in this game. Just defensively, had how many blocks did he have? He finishes with only two blocks, but it felt like he just every shot that went up, he at least had great contest on that was altering the shot, and that's why they shot so bad from the two. Richardson 4 for 13, just couldn't really get around some of these defenders. Trey Holloman 0 for 10 from the field. He struggled. Frankie Fiddler had a solid game, but just a disappointing loss and not really something you can hang your hat on for Michigan State. They had a great year. It's just a year where these 4-1 seeds are just so much better than the rest of the field that it's hard to keep up with, especially when Michigan State they play a couple of freshmen, they play a lot of young guys, and they got to go up against a 24-year-old, a 22-year-old, a 25-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 23-year-old that are just all allowed to play college basketball. So hopefully next year we can finally get away with this COVID year situation and move on from players who have played in their 72nd year of college basketball.
Okay, moving down to the West region, we'll start with Florida beating Maryland 87 to 71. Maryland was fine in the first half of this game. They were down two going into halftime, but second half was all Florida. Florida put up 47 points in the second half of this game. They shot 40% from three. They hit 11 threes, which is that's how you play if you're Florida. You dunk the ball and you hit threes, and that's how they win so many games. And Florida was able to play pretty deep into their lineup as well. Thomas Haw had 9 rebounds, 13 points for them off the bench. Will Richard had 15, Clayton 13, Elijah Martin 14, uh, Chimalu, Chinalu, sorry, 10. They had four or what, five? No, six. They had six players in double figures in this game. They were able to just pass it around to everybody, and everybody was able to score. For Maryland, Derek Queen did have his 27, 8 for 17 from the field, hit all 10 of his free throws. Gillespie hit all six of his free throws as well. They shot 26 free throws in this game to Florida's 21, but they were just not able to hang with Florida in the second half. Florida is such a good team, especially in the second half. And when they're shooting like they did in this game, they're a really, really hard team to beat. And although Maryland's a great team, Willard was 1 foot out the door. And I hate to say that that would be the difference in this game, but when you're playing against a team like Florida, something that small can definitely make an impact. And it did in this game. Florida puts up 87 and they move to the regional final.
Yeah, Willard was 1 foot out the door in this game, already basically on his way to Villanova, even though he continued to deny it. That hurt this Maryland team. Like you said, they were solid in the first half, but the issue with this Maryland team has been all year that they have pretty much no production from the bench. Geronimo, he finishes at 1 point, and then Harris Smith has two others outside of that. No bench points, so three total bench points from this Maryland team. It's been the Crab Five all year, but at some point you need some production from your bench. And then you also got Miguel in your starting lineup who goes 0 for 7. That doesn't help as well. So you're playing with pretty much four guys then on the court. Derek Queen had another good game. He finishes with 27 points, 8 for 17, hit all 10 of his free throws. He was good in this game. Florida really couldn't guard him. They couldn't stay in front of him. He's so quick for his size. He's a really special player. Gillespie was solid in this game, 4 for 10, and so was Rodney Rice. But this Florida team was just too much for this Maryland team to handle. They have so many weapons. They got bench production, which is something that Maryland didn't have. Condon, he's been dealing with that. He got injured. He's been dealing with that ankle injury, but he was solid uh, all around. But Walter Clayton, really just a very balanced game from this Florida team. Elijah Martin, he shot well. Will Richard shot well. So just a good game from Florida all around. They were pretty solid. They were the better team, and they were able to beat up on this Maryland team. And the threes was really the big difference. Almost shooting 40% and hitting 11 threes is big.
Okay, we'll move on here down in the bracket to Texas Tech beating Arkansas 85 to 83 in overtime. Probably the best game of this tournament, but John Calipari and Arkansas blow a 16-point lead in the second half. Texas Tech forces overtime and they win this game in overtime. Arkansas shot it super, super well from three, which is a recipe for success for them. They shot 10 for 25 from three, hit 40%. John L. Davis was phenomenal in this game, hit all 11 of his free throws, had 30 points. Carter Knox lived up to his potential, put up 20 on 8 shots, which is so impressive from him. They rebounded very well. Adu had 9, Brazil had 5, John L. Davis had 6, Knox had 6, but they just had no production off the bench. Boogie Flan was able to really do nothing in his minutes. Adu Thiero played 5 minutes in this game and just wasn't himself, didn't do anything. Billy Richmond also 2 points off the bench, and Big Z continues to just have bad, bad production. 0 points from him, 3 rebounds in 12 minutes. They had a total of 3 bench points in this game and put up 83 as a team, so it just wasn't there for them. While it's Texas Tech, they go 7 deep in their lineup and they get 19 points off the bench. JT Toppin has 20, Darren Williams has 20, Anderson has 20. Frederico has 7 for them. They were able to come back from a 16-point deficit, and it's a really tough thing to do in this tournament to come back from down 15 plus points in the second half and win. And they were able to. They shot it really, really well down the stretch. For the game, they only shot 8 for 32 from three. And if you told us before the game that Texas Tech would shoot 8 for 32 from three and Arkansas would shoot 10 for 25, it'd be hard to imagine that Arkansas wouldn't win this game. But they choked it away, and then late in the game, Texas Tech hits a shot to go up 2 points, and Calipari does what he's done for a lot of his career, which 5 seconds left, he does not call the timeout, lets DJ Wagner dribble to the right side, take a bad mid-range shot, and they lose the game on that. I love Cal. I was rooting for him in this game. I just can't believe he continues to do that over and over again. Lets anybody on his team dribble it out with 5 seconds left and hopes that he can get a play call out from the sidelines in a loud stadium in a 2-point game in overtime of the Sweet 16. It was a bad move by Cal. With that being said, I still think this was one of his better coaching jobs with how they started 0-5 in the SEC. They were playing close games with teams like Lipscomb early on in the season, but they still managed to make the Sweet 16 as a 10 seed. They beat the 2 seed in Mercantino and St. John's. And I still think Cal's going to do a good job at Arkansas. They have a $15 million NIL budget, so I think they'll be in it next year for sure.
Yeah, that's a ton of money. Like you said, it was really just the clock management late from Cal hurt him. DJ Wagner just got basically ISOs to end the game and just wasn't the move. Both attempts he had bad shots for to tie and take the lead and win. Arkansas just choked it away, 16-point lead, like you said. Just really just a really bad choke job. Darian Williams hits that big three to pretty much force overtime. JT Toppin was great in this game, 10 for 18, 20 points. Williams as well had 20 points. Those two really helped Texas Tech stay in the game. Anderson had 22 points. They got a lot of production from their starting lineup, and then they had a little bit of bench up with Overton and Federico. So Arkansas, they kind of just stayed alive, and then Arkansas maybe was just tired late in that game, and Texas Tech was able to take advantage of it and come back. Really thought Arkansas had the game won, but just choke job late, like you said. And John L. Davis was great in this game, 30 points. He hit all 11 of his free throws. I thought the ball would be in his hands late in the game, but they decided to put it in DJ Wagner's hands both times, and he couldn't get it done. So just a choke job by Cal in this game, not calling the timeouts, but it was a great season. He got this Arkansas team to the Sweet 16 when we really didn't see it coming. So, and was very, very close to the Elite Eight. So a good job for Cal and just a very impressive win for Texas Tech to stay alive and kind of was the opposite in their game against Florida.
Yep, and in this game against Florida, they're basically in the spot of Arkansas as they do lose 84 to 79. They're up big late in the game, later than Arkansas was up big, and Florida goes on like a 16-2 run with 2 minutes left and comes back in a game where they were absolutely dead, and it looked like we were going to see the Red Raiders in the Final Four. Toppin had a solid game, although he was inefficient. Same thing with Darian Williams, who's a little more efficient. He had 23. Chance McMillan came back in this game for Texas Tech. He's missed a few games in a row now. He came off the bench, still played 26 minutes, still had 14 points on 11 shots. They shot it much better from three in this game, 10 for 27, 37%. Florida really struggled in the first half, but late in this game they were able to be so efficient. Walter Clayton shot 14 free throws in this game, hit 13 of them. He had a shot late in this game where he dribbled up to I believe the free throw line extended, and then he completely turns around, sprints to the 3-point line, turns around, 3-pointer, bangs it in. It's an unbelievable shot from Walter Clayton, and this Florida team just does not go away. They've had a couple games in this tournament. This game, the UConn game, where at points they look dead in the second half, and they're able to come back and win it. And that's what good teams do, and we know how good this team is. Thomas Haub, once again off the bench, 20 points for them. Elijah Martin had 10 in the starting lineup, and Walter Clayton is one of the best point guards in the country. And when you have one of the best point guards in the country, we've seen how this tournament goes historically. That's usually the team that wins it all has a dominant point guard who's able to control the game and hit a ton of shots. And that's what Walter Clayton does. 35 minutes he plays in this game. Thomas Hall plays 30 off the bench. Aberdeen gives you 20 minutes, only 3 points, but he was able to be in the line and play good defense for them. But this is an unreal comeback. It's one of those things where Texas Tech puts all their energy in on Thursday to come back from a deep deficit. And then Saturday rolls around, they get a lead, and then it just fades away for them so quickly. But that's what Florida can do to you, and that's what 3-point shooting can do to you in this tournament. But Florida's been one of the best teams all year. They deserve to be in the Final Four. And although it did get sweaty at times for them in this tournament, they've still made it there. And this tournament's never supposed to be easy.
Yeah, it's never supposed to be easy. Walter Clinton, I think going into the end of that game, I think he was 0 for 5 from three at the time, and then he hits three massive threes. Like you said, the one where he just dribbled the ball out and chucked a three and hit it was just crazy to watch. But yeah, it took him to late in the game to really get going. Elijah Martin didn't really get going in this game. Hauk was fantastic. He had a ton of clutch threes to keep him in the game and then get him back to the lead late in the game for Florida. Just great 3-point shooting team late in that game. They shot phenomenally from their free throws. They shot 27 free throws as opposed to Texas Tech only shot 13. Texas Tech hits 7. Florida hits 25 of their 27 free throws. Very impressive, 92%. They hit all of their late ones to continue to take the lead. They dominated the rebounding battle 42 to 35. So Texas Tech had the lead late in this game. It's Very shocking that they choked. Darian Williams was good again in this game. JT Toppin was good again. Just outside of those two, didn't get too much production from anyone else. And late in that game, when they needed buckets, they needed free throws. They could not hit them. The 7 for 13 from free throws doesn't tell the whole story. They missed the front end. I think of back to back both of their one and ones,
That
and
started the
that
run.
yeah, and that's pretty much what started the run and put Florida in this game. If you just hit your free throws, if you're Texas Tech, you're probably in the Final Four right now. So just a really bad choke there, and just the opposite of what happened against Arkansas. And for Florida, they've played a couple of close games. Maybe that'll help them going into the Final Four that they're battle tested, but little closer for comfort than you would have liked. But you're in the Final Four, and that's all you can just really be happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, Tech missed the first end of a one and one. Florida hit a three. They missed another front end of a one and one. Florida hit another three. Then they got stopped, and Florida hit a third three. And that's like literally the nightmare scenario if you have a
Yeah,
lead like they did in the second half. So, absolutely brutal for them.
and then
But
it starts the other people saying abolish the one and ones, which
no, 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 no.
I don't think you can do. I mean, it's another thing that makes college basketball a little
Watch the
special.
NBA then, is
Yeah.
what I say to that. Yeah. No, you need the one on one. I wish the NBA would bring in the one on one at times,
Yeah,
honestly.
I like the one and one personally. I
Me
mean,
too. It adds a little bit more variables, especially when like dudes can shoot free throws at this level.
yeah.
So like they're gonna make if it's not one on one, they're gonna make one most likely,
hmm
at least. So at least you can
Pe
give them a chance.
People just want to continue to make it more and more like the NBA. They want to make it quarters now.
They want continuation. They
Yeah,
want the one on one abolished. It is what it is. But then at the same time, those same people hate the NIL and they hate the transfer portal. So like I don't really that has made it more like the NBA than anything else. And now they
that's
want
true.
to. So I just don't really understand the double standard there. But
I hate the transfer portal though. So
we know, we know.
yeah,
But it is what it is. That's the point we're at.
yeah.
Um, we'll move on here to the East region with Duke beating Arizona 100 to 93. Cooper Flag phenomenal in this game. 30 points on 19 shots. He hit 9 of his 10 free throws. Maluak is a dominant center for Duke. As a freshman, he's been great. Con Knipp led 20 in this game. Cyan James 16. Tyrese Proctor didn't shoot at his best this game. He shot it really, really well in the first 2 rounds of the tournament, and they still are able to put up 100 points despite him only having 7. Mason Gillis ended up hitting a three in this game as well. Malik Brown came back, only played 4 minutes in this game, but he's always impactful when he's in the game. And Arizona, we said Caleb Love had to have an efficient 30 to 35 in this game, and he did. He hit 35 on 21 shots. He was great. He played the entire 40 minutes of this game, but Arizona just didn't have it defensively. We thought maybe a guy like Carter Bryant would be able to come out and defend Cooper Flag and be able to hold Duke maybe to 80 something points in this game, but you're not going to beat Duke if you give him 100 points. This game was not as close as the score makes it seem. I think there was a point where Duke was up 17 or 18 in the second half of this game. Arizona just had a little bit of a comeback late to make it look a little closer than it was, but Caleb Love's career ends on a 35-point game with 40 minutes against his arch nemesis in Duke, but Duke finally gets over the Caleb Love hump and wins this game. This Duke team's a wagon, man, and I don't know what you can do to stop them unless you completely shut them down defensively and hit all your shots, and that's really, really tough to do. I mean, look at Arizona. They shot 46% from three in this game, hit 12 threes, and still were not able to beat Duke.
Yeah, if there's a team that can do that though, it's probably Houston.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, Duke shoots 60% from the field in this game, 57.9% from three. You're not going to beat a team. I mean, we'll talk about in the next game a team that would be unbeatable if they shoot that percentage, but it's pretty much impossible to beat a team when they shoot like that from the field. They won the rebounding battle as well, win the assist battle. Um, 7-1 in blocks, nine. They lost the turnover battle, I guess, but this Duke team is just very impressive. Con Knipple, a fantastic player. He's so good. 20 points on 5 for 7 shooting at Cooper Flag, 30 points on 9 for 19. Sion James, 16 points on 5 for 6 shooting. Maluak, 13 on 6 for 8 shooting. Tyrese Proctor, 7 on 3 for 8 shooting. So they didn't really get too much bench production, 8 points from their backup center, but outside of that, really not too much bench production. But this starting five for Duke is just so good. We said Caleb Love, like I said, needs to have good production. He does, 35 points, just didn't get too much help from the other guys around him. This Arizona team was solid all season. They ran into a team that's unbeatable when they play like that. So unfortunate, but this Duke team is unfortunately fun to watch. I hate to say that I kind of like them because I've hated Duke almost my whole life. But this team, it's kind of I don't know who to hate on the team because I unfortunately like a decent amount of their players. So we'll see them continue to move on, and if they play at this level, they're tough to beat.
It sucks, man. I want to hate them too, but they're so likable. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a Duke team this likable in my life. Even like they usually always have a hateable white guy, and their white guys are not hateable.
No,
Like Con Knipple's so fun to watch. Cooper Flag's amazing. Like it's tough, bro. It's
I
tough.
saw
Coach K. They need Coach K.
yeah, bring back Coach K just so we can hate him. I think it was part of my take talk about it. How basically, if Con Knippel was the main guy on this team, you could probably be a more hateable team. But the fact
Yeah,
that Con
I
Knippel's the
agree.
second guy on the team,
Hmm.
it's hard to hate him as much. I mean, and then Cooper Flag, I saw a video yesterday of him and Con Knippel playing. They were playing Swish, first to get five Swishes wins, and I mean, I think Con Knippel won, but Cooper Flag was hitting like the Larry Bird where he hits the three and immediately starts celebrating, like after the 3 point contest. So I don't know, they're just fun to watch, and I can't wait till they're in the NBA, to be honest,
The
so I
only
can hate Duke
way
again.
the only way is to like do what the Chiefs did when Taylor Swift first started dating Travis Kelce, which is cut to her after every play. That's what they have to do with Coach K. That's the only way.
Yeah,
They need to show Coach K the entire game, and then maybe we could hate him. But John
that's a good
Shire,
point.
he's a wet blanket, but he's not hateable, really, to be honest. Did you see the
Yeah,
thing he said after the game where they're like, "What's your message to Duke fans?" And he's like, let's go to San Antonio." And it was just like, what the fuck is bro talking about? He doesn't have the gas that Coach K has that would make you like Coach K would say something there that you would just be like, all right, fuck this guy. Like,
yeah.
but they just don't have it on this team, unfortunately.
Coach
Um,
K would be like, it's nothing special.
yeah, yeah, and you'd be like, fuck you, bro. You guys just put up 100 points. Like, come on, skated your way to the Final Four, but Shire's just a regular ass dude. But
Yeah.
next game here, like you said, Alabama beats BYU 113 to 88. Fuck this game. This game was just brutal to watch if you're rooting for BYU. Alabama shoots a record-setting 25 threes on 51 attempts in this game. They only shot 15 two-point shots in this game to 51 threes, which is just ridiculous. And then they make 25 of them, shoot 49%. Mark Sears hits 10 threes, 34 points for him. He's one of those guys that if he's hitting his shots early in a game, he's really hard to stop. The way you stop Mark Sears is you just don't let him hit shots early and he won't get into a rhythm and you'll be fine. But he was able to in this game. Youngblood even hit five threes. Phylon hit two. Holloway off the bench had six threes on 13 attempts. Alabama just dominated. They ran up and down the floor. And BYU played fine. I mean, defensively, of course, they gave up 25 threes, but a lot of those threes were contested. They were able to contest a lot of these threes, but when Alabama's hitting it at this clip, it's truly impossible to ever beat a team like that unless you are shooting it at that clip. And the main thing for BYU was just they went ice cold from three, 6 for 30 from three after being one of the most efficient offensive teams in the entire tournament in the first two rounds. It's impossible to beat a team when you hit six threes and they hit 25. It doesn't matter how the rest of the game goes. You could dominate every other aspect of the game and it won't matter. But congrats to Alabama. Like you said, you'll never beat a team when they shoot it that well. But as we know, there's no way they ever will be able to replicate that. And we saw it in the next round.
25 3 pointers is just ridiculous. I think, yeah, if they didn't shoot a 2 pointer in this game, they still would have won, which
Yeah.
is a ridiculous stat. 25 3 pointers, 18 for 21 from the free throw line. Just a ridiculous number there. Didn't really turn the ball over too much compared to BYU, so that's pretty even there. And just 113 points in a Sweet 16 game is going to win about 99% of the time, unless it's a quadruple overtime game. Saunders was solid for BYU in this game. He's been great all tournament. He finishes with 25 points, 10 for 14 from the field, but just couldn't keep up with the Alabama 3 pointers. That's the story of this game. They shot fantastic from three. Sears hit 10, like you said. He was great, probably the best game of his March career. Grant Nelson didn't even have to hit a three in this game. He went over 3 from 3 point line, but they hit enough just all around that it was able to win the game very comfortably. They had 27 assists total, just a dominant win for Alabama, but it's just something you can't replicate, like you said. So great win, but unable to do it against a better defense than Duke. Way better defense, I guess. I mean, BYU, like you said, their defense was solid, but that's not the level as which Duke plays defense.
Okay, moving on to the regional final here, Elite Eight. Duke beats Alabama 65 or 85 to 65. And this is the exact replica of Bama's not going to be able to replicate that performance. They only shoot 8 for 32 in this game from three, 25%. Mark Sears, I couldn't have scripted a better ending to Alabama season than this. Mark Sears, 2 for 12 from the field, 6 points after hitting every shot in the world last game. And then Duke was Duke. They controlled this game from the opening tip to the end of the game. They win the first half by 9, the second half by 11. Concanipple has 21. Cooper Flag doesn't have his best game, only has 16 on 16 shots. He was pretty inefficient in this game, but still gets you 9 rebounds, still gets you 3 assists, still gets you a block. Did have 4 turnovers in this game. Malawak had his 14 on 7 shots, only missed 1 shot in this game, 9 rebounds. He was so dominant. Once again, not a ton of bench production, though, for Duke, as Malik Brown also only plays 3 minutes in this game. So hopefully we see for Duke in the Final Four that Malik Brown can play a lot more minutes and he'll be able to impact the game defensively as he really wasn't needed in this game, but he also only played 7 minutes in this tournament so far through 4 games. Caleb Foster had just 5. Tyrese Proctor was a lot better in this game than he played in the regional semifinal. He was 7 for 10, 2 for 5 from the field, or 2 for 5 from three, I should say. And then, yeah, I mean, Duke was just able to shut them down defensively. We know how good this Duke team is offensively. They're going to get you 80 a game offensively, just about on any team. But what they can do defensively is really what goes unnoticed. And, well, not for us, but goes unnoticed among the public. And that's why I truly, from the beginning of this tournament till now, believe that Duke's going to win it all because they're just so good defensively. And they're so much closer to Houston defensively than Houston is to them offensively.
Yeah, that is true. But in this game, Kai Kaneppel again was fantastic. 21 points. Cooper Flag was good, 16 points. Just all around great again as well. Malawak 14, Tyrese Proctor 17 on 7 for 10 shooting. Didn't really get too much bench production in this game. Like you said, they're going to need Malik Brown, especially in that Final Four matchup against Houston, probably, but didn't need him for this one. The starting lineup played most of the minutes, dominated, and it really wasn't, they weren't really at threat in this game. They got the lead early, and you could just tell watching this game that Duke was the better basketball team, and you were just waiting for them to kind of start blowing Alabama out and winning by 20 plus, which they do end up winning by 20 in this game. 8 for 32 shooting, 25%. That's not even close to what they did against BYU. And then you got Duke, who only shot 13 3-pointers, but hit 6 of them. So they shot at about just under 50%, 46% from the 3-point line. Duke dominates the rebounding battle, 34 to 20 on defensive rebounds. They win the assist battle as well. And just a dominant game again for this Duke team. They've yet to really be in a close game so far in this tournament. The Arizona game was close, but they were still pretty much at a comfortable distance that entire game. So if Houston's able to keep it close, maybe this Duke team isn't battle tested and maybe they choke if they don't hit their free throws, which they've been a great free throw shooting team all year, but sometimes the pressure can change that. They shot 19 for 22 in this game. So a great win for Duke and just dominant so far in March.
Okay, we'll move on here to the Midwest region with Houston beating Purdue 62 to 60. This game was close throughout. Purdue was able to play super well defensively, something that we haven't really seen from them for much of the year, but that kept them in this game. You just got to play good defensively to beat Houston if you are a team that's not as good as them because they're going to stop you defensively. You're not going to score a ton of points on them. So you have to find a way to manage that. Purdue get only pulls in 29 rebounds, which is a big factor in this game as well. Houston has 38 total rebounds. Juwan Roberts had 12 of those himself. Usain and Sharp had 22 and 17. LJ Cryer played horrible in this game. Best player, 2 from 13 from the field, 1 for 5 from three, just 5 points on 13 shots for him, and they were still able to win this game. Houston, it all comes down to that final play for them. And yeah, right before that final play, they definitely did push off, and that should have been a foul on Houston, and Purdue should have been able to get the last shot in this game. But regardless, Kelvin Sampson watches Braden Smith on every inbound all game. Last second, right before it's passed in, runs off the inbounder and goes to guard the guy who's getting it passed to. He sees that, he draws a play up for it. Houston passes it in. Braden Smith comes off the inbounder. Houston goes right back to the inbounder, dunk with zero point 0.9 seconds left, and wins this game. Just a masterful play call from Kelvin Sampson, and just more proof that dominant coaches matter so much in college basketball compared to the NBA, where NBA you can have a ton of stars, maybe you don't have the best coaching, that don't have the best play calling, and you can still go win the title. But college basketball is still run through the coaches, and the best coaches always end up here at the end. And Kelvin Sampson did that. Houston moves on to the regional semifinal after their first really close game of the tournament outside of the Gonzaga game. They beat Purdue 62 to 60.
Yeah, Judd Heathcote, protege, Kelvin Sampson draws up a brilliant play call to win the game for this Houston team. It was a push off before it. They're lucky it didn't get called. They get the ball still, and he draws up a fantastic play to win Houston this game. Uzan was fantastic in this game, 6 for 9 from three, 8 for 17 from the field, 22 points. He was great. And this Houston team, defensively, again, they're just maybe the best defensive team in the tournament still. I'd say probably the best defensive team left. They're so good on that side of the ball, and offensively, when they're able to hit their shots, they're just very, very hard team to beat. They shoot 9 for 23 from three here. Really, the main thing that shocked me was I thought Purdue actually played very good. I mean, they did play very good in this game. Their defense stepped up. That's been an issue with this Purdue team at points in the season, and it stepped up in this game. They defended Houston well, and their offense was good enough to keep them in this game. Braden Smith is a fantastic basketball player. He's so good. He only scores 7 points, but the game plan was don't let Braden Smith beat you, have the other players beat you, and he was fine with it. He had 15 assists in this game. He was passing the ball to everybody on the court. Cam Heide, he hits a huge three to tie the game late. I mean, he had points this season where he just was not shooting good at all. But late in the season, in this tournament, he's been shooting the ball pretty well. He shoots 3 for 6 from three in this game, does get 9 points. Miles Colvin off the bench has a solid day with 7 points and then enters the transfer portal. Uh, Trey Kaufman-Renn, another solid game for him. And we've seen Fletcher Loyer finally start to pick it up in this tournament. He had 16 points on 2 for 7 from three, 6 for 12 from the field. But I was very impressed with how Purdue played. I thought they played good. We hadn't really seen them. We've seen them struggling leading up to this tournament, and they're able to get a Sweet 16 appearance and lose to just unfortunately a better team. So nothing for Purdue to hang their head on. I thought they played very good, and if the refs blow that whistle, you might see yourself in the Elite Eight, maybe in the Final Four. So just a great win by Houston, though. They kept their head on them and won the game with a great play call. And they're this is Kelvin Sampson, I think his second Final Four. So this Houston team has been a wagon, and he's been great.
Okay, moving on here to Tennessee beating my Kentucky Wildcats 78 to 65. It was a tough game for the Cats. They beat Tennessee twice in the regular season, and the third time around, Tennessee was just ready. Really sucks. They were able to just rebound so well. Tennessee was the second chance points just hurt Kentucky a lot. Kentucky's defense, I thought, actually played fairly well in this game. They once again held Tennessee to really bad three-point shooting, 5 for 19 from the field, but just the second chance points. They were getting stops on the first shot that Tennessee would get, and then it would just be an offensive rebound and an easy bucket for Tennessee. And then offensively, Tennessee's defense was just fully locked in. Kobe Bryant just 1 for 7 from three. Lamont Butler played really well, 7 for 10 from the field. He had four of Kentucky's six threes, but we know Kentucky has to hit threes to beat a team like Tennessee. They hit 12 threes in the first game, 12 threes in the second game, and just six here in the third game. But the main thing I want to say is I'm very happy with how this season turned out for Kentucky. I thought going in, as a lot of people did, maybe they're a 5, 6, 7 seed, maybe it's around a 32 exit for them. But they go and they get a 3 seed in the tournament. They make the Sweet 16, and all of these seniors just did such a good job of reinstilling the culture of Kentucky basketball with Mark Pope, Andrew Carr, Amari Williams, Kobe Bryant, Lamont Butler, Anze Almanor, all these guys truly, Jackson Robinson, who of course didn't play in this game, all of these guys truly brought back the culture of Kentucky basketball and showed what it means to truly care about wearing the Kentucky jersey. And I'm very happy with what they did. I loved what Andrew Carr said about and Kobe Bryant about not wanting to take their jersey off, telling transfers that this is where you want to play. It's an honor to wear this jersey, and it was an honor to watch them all year. And I'm very proud of how this Kentucky team did this year.
Yeah, they were better than I expected them to be going into the season. They do get a 3 seed. They played very well all season. Just didn't have it against this Tennessee team. Third time playing them, and this one they didn't hit their threes, and Tennessee was able to take advantage of that. Zakai Ziegler gets 18 points. Lanier gets 17 points. Then off the bench, Gainey gets 16 points as well. So the Tennessee defense has been great all tournament. We saw in the first round, we saw in the second round, and they were able to continue that going forward. They held Kentucky to 65 points and 6 for 15 from three. So that's really the story of the game. The Tennessee defense was great in this one, and go to the next round. Was it as good? No, but they were good against Kentucky. Seeing them for a third time. Lamont Butler couldn't get enough going. He had 18 points, 7 for 10. He had a good game, but Kobe Bryant couldn't shoot the ball very well. Carr 0 for 3 from three. He didn't shoot the ball very well, and Otega was solid, but Kentucky just didn't have it in this game. And maybe part of it is the fact that they had to play in a football stadium, but uh, I guess that's just part of the game. You got to play with where you have to play where you are, and they got dominated in the rebounding battle as well. So Tennessee gets the win, and I think it's really their defense and shooting 50% from the field that won them this game.
Okay, final game here, the Midwest Regional Final, as Houston beats the shit out of Tennessee 69 to 50. Tennessee with just 15 points in the first half, shot 5 for 29 for 3 in the game. As happy as I was to see Mark Sears go out the way he did, the other guy who I wanted to see go outside, Zakai Ziegler, 1 for 9 from the field, 1 for 6 from three, 5 points, 4 turnovers for him. He was horrible in this game, 5 assists, but didn't even have a single steal for the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. And that was the story of the game for Tennessee. They just could not shoot the ball on this Houston defense. It looked very similar to how Kentucky looked against Tennessee in the prior round, but Kentucky's just so much of a better offensive team than Tennessee that Tennessee was only able to put up 50 points in a 40-minute game. Houston, LJ Cryer was a lot better in this game. He had 17 points. It wasn't super efficient, but had 17. Sharp had 16 for them. Jawan Roberts didn't dominate the glass like he did in the prior game against Purdue, but he still had 9 rebounds. And Houston just so well coached, so locked in defensively that if they have a game where they're hitting shots, like in this game, they shoot 9 for 25 from three. That's phenomenal from them. Any game where they're hitting 9 threes and shooting 36% from the 3 point line, they're going to be a really hard team to beat because of how locked in they are defensively. And 116 years of Tennessee basketball, and they can't make it to the semifinals, which it's crazy that that's the hump now for them, making it to the semifinals of a tournament that's been going on for 116 years. And a lot of Tennessee fans want to talk about how Kentucky's rings were in a tournament where there wasn't as many teams. That makes it even more impressive that Tennessee couldn't make it to a semifinal of a less team tournament. But I love to see it. And when somebody tells you who you are, who they are for 116 years, you got to believe them. And here we are. Once again, no Final Four for Tennessee.
Yeah, no Final Four for Tennessee. Houston just dominated this game completely. Tennessee only had about 15 points in the first half, which was, I think, the lowest all time in an Elite Eight game. This Houston defense is just crazy. They're so locked in. You watch them play, and it's insanely difficult to just get an easy shot against this defense. They win the rebounding battle as well. Didn't really turn the ball over at all. Only 5 turnovers for Houston. They only got to the free throw line 4 times and hit all 4 of their free throws, as opposed to Tennessee shooting 20 free throws, 15 for 20. Just a great game for this Houston team. Their defense dominated, and something crazy for the first time, I think it was the first time since 2017. Yeah, since 2017, a 1 seed took the hardest possible path to the Final Four. They beat the 16, the 8, the 4, and the 2. This was the only team to get that this season. I think Duke was close, but Baylor was a 9 seed, so they played 1-9-4-2. So Houston took the hardest path. They get to the Final Four, and the second round against Gonzaga, that was an 8 seed. That should have been ranked a lot higher. So
Yeah.
it's been a very hard path for this Houston team, but they have beat every team, and they find themselves in maybe the one of the best Final Fours in terms of top teams that we've ever seen. So a great game for Houston, and we'll see if they can have this same elite level defense against a very good Duke offense in the Final Four.
Yep, here we are in the Final Four, 4 1 seeds for the first time since 2008 when Kansas beat Memphis. These are also 4 teams that are in the top 10 teams in the history of KenPom, which goes back to 1992, I believe. So 30 years of teams ranked by KenPom, and these are 4 of the top 10 all time. The 1 seeds all make it here to the Final Four. I'll start with Florida and Auburn. I've got Florida in this game. I think Florida's just too much up front for Auburn, and they could shoot it too well in this Auburn defense. I'm not too concerned about the Johni Broome injury. I think he'll be able to come back and play well in this game, as he had in the prior 2 games. I think he'll be fine. But regardless, in the event he doesn't play, I don't think this will be a close game at all. I think Florida could beat the brakes off Auburn if Johni Broome doesn't play. But I just like Florida. I think they're a lot more versatile. I think they're a lot better, a lot longer defensively, and I think they'll be able to beat Auburn. Houston and Duke. I still like Duke in this game. 4.5 points is kind of a lot of points, but I still do like Duke in this game. The key for Houston, They have to stay as locked in defensively as they can. They need to hold Duke under 75 points and they need to rebound well. If they can't rebound well, they're going to be in a tough spot in this game. But I trust Duke to be able to control the glass as best as they can. They have significantly more size than Tennessee down low, or than Houston down low, who only has a couple 6'8" guys down there. We know that Cooper Flagg is a great rebounder from the 3 and the 4 position. So I think Duke controls the glass. I think they're good enough defensively to hold Houston under 65 points. And I think we see something like a Actually, I think Houston gets a little bit over 65. I think we see something like a 73-67 win for Duke or something like that in that realm. And then Duke and Florida, I think these are the best two teams in the tournament. I think Florida's the hardest possible matchup for Duke in this tournament. And as you said, Duke has played basically the hardest path that they could play so far outside of the second round. And I think they get it done here against Florida. I think they're too much defensively. I think Florida has their length, but Duke has length too. And I think they'll be able to withstand Florida down low and they'll be able to run them off the 3-point line, which is how you beat Florida. And we've seen Florida have some points in this tournament where they've been tripped up, and we know Duke has not had those points at all. I say it every week on here. My only concern with Duke going into the tournament was their youth, and they, through 4 rounds, have yet to show me that their youth is a problem in this tournament. And in an era where we have a ton of transfers and everybody, like you said, is 23, 24, 25 on all these teams, I think we're going to see the team who starts 4 freshmen, 4 18-year-olds win the national title. And I think I'm just not going to switch up. I still think Duke wins it all.
Yeah, I don't think I can switch up either. This Duke team is giving me nothing to show me that they can't win at all. I think if a team can beat this Duke team, I think it's Houston. I think that's kind of an early championship game, but at the same time, I also think those two teams could just beat the crap out of each other so much that they're going to be so tired going into that game on Monday. But I mean, on the other side of the game, on the other side of Auburn, Florida, those two are going to beat each other up as well. So Monday's going to be a battle of attrition, but I'll start with Duke Houston. I think Duke just gets it done. They have so much talent. Cooper Flag and Con Kneppel, great Malawak, great. Houston's a fantastic defensive team, but I think Duke can score on them still. I think it's going to be a very, very close game. I don't think either team's going to blow each other out, but I just give Duke the slight edge to win this game and go to the championship. But it wouldn't shock me if Houston is a team that is able to upset Duke. But I'm going to pick Duke to go to the championship. Auburn, Florida. I think I go back and forth on this one. Auburn's obviously just so old. They have so many guys who have played 5, 6 years, 7 years of college basketball. Uh, they're a quarter of a century year old already, which is ridiculous. But I think I'm going to pick Florida. Walter Clayton has been able to hit shots all tournament late in games and put this sort of team ahead. It's going to be close. Most of Auburn's games, they've kind of had a comfortable lead late in the games. Last 5 minutes of the games have had a comfortable lead. I don't think this game's going to be like that. Florida's a little bit more battle tested right now going into this Final Four, and I'm going to pick Florida to go to the national championship against Duke, where I pick Duke to beat Florida in that game as well. I think the young guys get it done, and Shire gets his first ever national championship in San Antonio, which San Antonio is close to Houston, so Houston's going to have the geographic advantage there. But I'm going to pick Duke to beat Florida in the national championship.
Okay, that will about do it for this episode of the Engage 8 podcast. If you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe. Like I said, we're only 12 subscribers away from 200. So thank you guys so much for getting us this far. And we greatly appreciate it if you could sub up and get us closer to that goal. Next week, we will be back recapping the Final Four and the national championship game, as well as possibly doing our first mock draft for the NFL, as we are just 3.5 weeks away from the NFL draft. So look forward to that. Hit all the links in our description for TikTok, Spotify, social media, and all that good stuff. And we will see everybody in the next one.